You've tuned into Bellingham Podcast Media Tech for the week of March 27, 2016, episode numero 5. I'm AJ Barsay.
And I'm Chris Powell. On this episode, AJ takes a bite out of the recent Apple event. Spoiler alert, smaller is in. I extol the virtues of my favorite location off Exit 252 in Bellingham. Here's a hint, it's been around since 1989. And we both lament the recent trend of great software that gets shut down. All that and more next on BPM Tech.
You sound happy.
I'm happy to be out and about when it's a beautiful day in Bellingham. The sun's out, it's got a cool breeze. This is exactly the ideal day.
Yep, and there's no wind. I am so glad we're over the wind phase.
Yes, most definitely. I'm a fan of that.
Where are we, Chris?
We are at the Woods Coffee on 10 Prospect Street in Bellingham. That's 10 Prospect Street as you tap in your Google Maps. It's also known as Flatiron Woods, right below Faith Life, across the street from the Spark Museum of Electrical Invention and the Pickford Cinema. So we are in the heart of Bellingham right now.
I like this woods. I have to say, out of all, or not all the woodses, but I think most of them have back rooms, and that's where we're in right now.
Yes.
And I love the fact that here's a coffee shop where, you still get a little bit of ambient noise, but it's nice to be able to be tucked away, shut a door a little bit, and be able to have a conversation, in our case with microphones. But it's nice the fact that here is a community cafe that you can basically rent, quote unquote, a room if you just buy a drink from them. I think it's a great community service that they
Absolutely.
have.
And I think they have about 17 locations countywide, Whatcom, Skagit counties. One of our favorite places to go to, definitely. And just to be able to have a chance to have a conference or do some focused work.
Yeah.
What a wonderful way to have a little bit of a quasi-VIP room, if you will. Speaking of Woods Coffee, I just was checking out the internet news, and there's some news coming up. Depending on when you are listening to this could be upcoming news or it could be already happened. But
we'll crawl into the TARDIS. It's cool.
There you go. Sounds good. So as of March 28th, that's Monday, March 28th, the Lakeway Drive Woods is going to open up a Woods Coffee Roastery.
Whoa, a roastery.
This is where they're going to have a coffee roasting process, a coffee brew bar, and specialty coffee drinks not offered at other Woods locations.
Oh, I am
starting
in like
Monday.
Yes.
So I got this from PR Web on the net, and it was a nice little heads up that crossed my visual path. But hey, if you are around Lakeway Drive, stop by the new Woods Coffee Roastery in their location. So they're expanding, and I believe I believe they used to roast their own coffee in their headquarters in Linden. That is being migrated over to the Lakeway location, and I guess evidently the way they're doing it, it produces a cleaner, brighter cup of coffee for those of you aficionados out there. And evidently, they're going to, according to what the release said, they're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 80% compared to other roasting manufacturers. So, hey, way to go, Woods Coffee, for doing some good work for the environment and sustainability.
I like that. That's going to have to go on to the bingo list of or bingo card that we're doing for all these coffee hubs that we were jumping and doing.
That's right.
Shows. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. That's right.
Let's rewind a little bit. Last week, we were at the Leonard Streets Cafe. Leonard Streets Coffee House. Wonderful coffee house. Bright and happy. And we got a lot of, from that episode alone, thank you everyone who has subscribed to us or streamed us on SoundCloud. We love all the community support around this little podunk show, which is kind of cool. However, we also got some community feedback, and we found out there's a couple of corrections we need to make from last edition.
Yep. And so I did a little bit of checking on the net to try to get a little bit more information as we're talking about Leonard Street's Coffee House, and happened to stumble upon a web page that was a little out of date. It turns out that, according to Angela Bryant from Leonard Streets, their coffee is direct trade, not fair trade, as I mentioned on our previous podcast. So my apologies to Leonard Streets Coffee for the factual error. We had a great time recording there and hope to maybe stop by there for a future podcast.
Totes my goats McGee.
What?
Toads Goats McGee.
I never heard of that.
I don't know where I got that.
All right, but it works for me.
Sounds good.
Yes,
Sounds
exactly.
good. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to the two baristas here at the Flatiron.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan and Hannah. They were a hoot and a half, and they make a really good cup of coffee, I have to say. But just, hey guys, if you listen to the show, just wanted to say it's AJ. Hey, so
shout out to
shout out just to two cool baristas. They're just pleasant faces. It was very. It was a good customer service.
Actually, all of the Woods locations that I've been to, and my punch card is just about full of hitting all the spots. I haven't found a grumpy barista or person there. They always are, in some cases when I've frequented on multiple occasions, they will actually remember my name.
Yeah.
And they will say, another iced green tea.
Nice.
Which is what I'm drinking.
I was just going to say, so what are you drinking? Because last episode you went all Hulk on me and like, I don't like coffee. It makes me mad, angry, Hulk smash.
But AJ, I don't want to get grumpy on our podcast. Therefore, I don't drink coffee.
Okay,
I'm drinking an
that's
ice cream tea right now.
It's cool.
And plus a bottle of water, just because as I articulate technology information, my mouth gets dry.
Okay, fair
so
enough.
That's what I'm drinking. What are you drinking?
It's a bright, beautiful, sunny day in Bellingham with no breeze, which is great. So I am drinking cold brew.
All right.
This is my first cold brew of the season right here.
The inaugural cold brew.
The inaugural. You can even hear the ice in my cup. Cold brew.
That's good. All right, Mr. Freeze. Let's move on.
Mr. Freeze.
So, there evidently in Macworld there was a bit of a malware instance that occurred, and I think you got a little hit by it.
You're going to open up with that one? Okay.
Why not? Here's the
Okay.
Tell us about the malware.
So, oh my gosh. Okay, so it happens to everybody. I don't care if you're a tech like us or if you have a brand new computer, Mac, PC, don't care. You need to have virus checking software of some sort. Now, a lot of people say, well, I have a Mac. You can't get a virus on a Mac. Yes, you can. It's just a little less common. But as Apple gets more stock into the whole economy of computing, we're seeing a rise of it. And there was a white paper that came out in an article, I think it was Wired that did it, that said that malware is on the rise for the Mac OS X. Exactly. As the underdog becomes the overdog, if that's even a thing, that becomes the target for hackers and malicious activity. So as that came out, I'm sitting at home and I'm working on my Patreon like normal, and I open up my computer, and first thing that happens is my mail client syncs up, grabs my mail, and all of a sudden I use Sophos. It's a free for home use virus checking and malware checking piece of software. And also Sophos does a lot of research. They actually publish their research on the viruses and stuff that they find in the community. Mac, PC, doesn't matter. They have a huge database. Anybody can look up any what's called a definition to a virus. And so I open up my machine as normal, and all of a sudden Sophos lights me up, and it says, this file has been quarantined, and you have contracted something. And it's funny because in my entire tech tenure with a Mac, which is over a decade, I have caught 3 Mac viruses.
3 in 10 years.
3 in 10 years. That is, and that in all of my machines, I always run something. But it was interesting because as a Mac user, as a PC, on the PC side of things, you and I see this day in, day out, and we can take care of it. But on the Mac side of things, there's that initial, oh my gosh, I got a virus. And then there's, holy crap, what do I do? Yeah. Like on the Mac, because it doesn't happen that much. What do you do? So I kind of okay, palpitations down. Okay, what is it? So come to find out, it's a piece of malware. It's actually a PC-based malware, but Macs can contract it and also can send it. Now, I want to rewind a little bit because what I said was when I first opened up my machine and my mail client synced, and that's how I contracted it.
So that's the equation for getting what you got.
That is the equation of what I got. And what I got was the Maldrod ZP-A. It's a Trojan, which just like in the Greco days, the Trojan horse, as it were, was the horse that was gifted and then the people came out. And that's the same way with internet Trojans, is that it comes in, it gets piggybacked on something, typically mail or a ad, and it gets onto your computer. And then once it gets there, you either accidentally trigger it, or it's timed to trigger itself, and then it runs, and then it sends out the people that are inside the horse, as it were. Anyway, this guy basically takes the form of spam mail, a very, very good-looking spam mail, where it basically figures out your either your email domain, which for me is I own my email domain, and they spoofed my email domain, by the way.
Wow, that's pretty...
It was because I looked at it. So if I was like a bigger business where I had a different department, they basically made it like department name. I'll say reservations at my domain.com. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I don't have a department like that. So I look at the email, and it's supposed to be like hotel reservations, and it's a zip. And so I looked at that, and I'm like, this is classy.
It's premeditated. It's not just like, a generic style just to see who can click on it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things where if I would have ran it, probably not much would have happened on my machine. However, if it had some way of getting back to the mail client, it could send out to my contact list. And we've probably seen this, where people listening have probably had this, where a family member or friend, hi, I need to update my contact, and it's really poorly spelled type of thing, and it sends out a bulk email.
Blessings to you, dear friend.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it comes from one of your friends in your contact list. That's how I suspect this thing ran. But nevertheless, it's basically my word of advice to people is, and I talked to you a little bit about this off the mic, is in today's day and age, why do we even have a mail client? Like the actual client. When more and more of our emails done online in a browser, and the way that this thing even got on my computer was my actual mail server filtered it. It saw that it was fake. It went sent to my junk mail or my spam mail. Guess what? Spam mail and junk mail get synced to your computer through IMAP regardless. And I had to dig through it. So I looked in Gmail, and I found out that in IMAP settings, junk mail, spam, all the folders in Gmail by default are synced to your client. So Google is just like pushing everything to you. Like, I'm just thinking, if you just set up a Gmail and you're like, hey, I've got a Mac at home, use Mac Mail, and then boom, everything's there. There are some things you really don't want on your machine. Your junk and spam mail, you don't need to sync to your machine.
Not exactly, unless you take entertainment in, or you have entertainment and looking at
yes, and you like to have advertisement for random pills for certain body parts.
Yeah, I don't want
that.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to throw out to the community is, if you do have Gmail or any other Yahoo or whatever, and you're using IMAP to send your webmail to your client, you may want to uncheck the box to sync junk and spam mail. You can always check it by just going into your browser, which is a little bit safer, because when you check your mail in a browser, the files, the attachments, don't download. They can't run. So as opposed to on your client, because it gets downloaded and the file is on your machine.
As it synchronizes.
Correct.
Right.
So I just wanted to throw that part out. And the other thing is, if you wanted to have an extra level of protection, just check your mail in a web browser. And that way, again, the things that are attached in your webmail can't run unless you activate them or download them. So two bits of advice.
You need to enable permission, or
Correct.
at least say, yes, okay. And then the payload or whatever's in the Trojan malware will get downloaded to your computer and activated.
Correct.
So what you're saying perhaps is that instead of a desktop mail software program, we're going to use our Internet Explorer, our Safari, our
Edge.
Chrome, Edge for those with Windows
Safari.
10, Firefox, etc.
Opera,
fair enough. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I just want to throw out to the community. Like I said, most people that we know usually use a Gmail account, and with so many people that we know that have Macs, Mac Mail is super easy. You throw it in, boom, it's there. But if you check under your Gmail settings and in the actual browser, and you go up to settings, and it's under labels, which is not intuitive, if you ask me.
It's Gmail's version of folders.
Exactly. You go under labels, you'll notice your IMAP settings, and then you can uncheck the boxes for You can uncheck the boxes for your spam or your junk mail, and that way it doesn't sync to your machine. Just one extra level of security coming from a tech. And also throw on some virus protection like Sophos.
It's always good to have some kind of protection, and we can't go forever thinking, oh yeah, Apple just works, and you just got to take a couple steps to protect yourself. But also, it's a chance to be aware, not to be fearful, because there's so many articles out there that say 10 ways that you can torch your computer.
Yeah.
Just be aware of
The
what
sky
could
is
be out
falling.
there. Yeah,
The sky is falling.
yeah. We're used to that.
So what's that exit 252?
So last episode, I'm pretty much not even checking with you. I'm just saying I'm going to talk about something I really like.
Okay, I dig it.
On each exit in Bellingham, and we started last episode in Fairhaven. The next episode north, as you head north on I-5, is exit 252, Samish Way, Western Washington University, on that big green sign.
Hey!
And so one of my favorite stops, if you ever pull off on exit 252, naturally. Talked about this in episode 1 or episode 2, is Boomer's Burgers.
Oh, yes.
The
Viper Pit.
The Viper. Well, it's a crowded joint. Let's put it that way. It's been around since 1989, and I did some checking on the web yet again because I wanted to try to get armed with some information. It used to be an A&W drive-in.
I could see that.
Yes, back in the 1950s. Saw a couple vintage pictures on the web on a Tumblr, like Bellingham history or something like that.
Cool.
And along the way, got some indoor seating because in drive-ins, it's normally drive-in.
Right.
So that cool fireplace that's inside Boomers, that got as added on as time progressed. They also added additional drive parking space as a carport, and so it's now a staple in Bellingham for all families, all ages, all backgrounds. If you're listening and you are from Bellingham and you haven't been to Boomers or you drive past it on Samish Way, please make plans to go check it out.
Oh yeah, definite.
Their secret weapon, in my not so humble opinion, because I'm going to tell you anyway, their secret weapon is the milkshakes that come in many different flavors. It's not just vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry.
No.
There's blueberry. There's what the heck berry, espresso, and real ice cream, real ingredients, et cetera, et cetera. They definitely know what they're talking about. As I said before, the car hops, which are the staff, nicest in town. Mm-hmm. Woods Coffee is a close second, but I'm not one to keep score.
Oh, no.
But at least one of the good points of Boomers that I have always appreciated is how nice they are. I even asked one out when I was an undergrad at WWU, but
awesome.
I was gently let down. But
that's cool.
That's a longer story. So anyway, AJ, when you go to Boomers, what's your favorite burger?
So the Cajun Fire Inferno Burger.
Why am I not surprised?
So yeah, it's intense. It is a donkey punch to the mouth. It's great.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Also, another thing I want to throw out about Boomers, little known fact, is if you are a dog lover, you can ask for the puppy patty.
The puppy patty. We haven't really brought our dog along with us because she barks quite frequently.
Yeah.
What's the puppy patty?
So the puppy patty is just that. It's just basically a hamburger patty for your dog.
You're kidding.
I kid you not. But you can order it for your pup. And you know what? Those car hops, they typically love dogs.
I can imagine.
As long as they're happy dogs.
As long as they're like not jumping out at them at the window.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. What's your go-to burger?
Normal. Well, so like once a year they take a month.
Yes.
And they make all burgers $2.99.
Yeah, it's the anniversary sale.
The anniversary sale of Boomers, which, thank you for giving us a discount on a couple bucks for a burger. I've always enjoyed the Big Boom, naturally.
Of course.
Because that's 2 patties and all the goodness. Tastes like angels and is my favorite burger. However, there's just something simple when you say combo number 2 with the medium soda. And it is just a Boomer burger with some waffle fries and a medium soda of whatever you feel like, and it's just right.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So exit 252, when you go visit there, check out Boomers. I'm sure you have, but that's my pick of the exit for Bellingham.
Boom!
So, yes. So Mr. Barsay, Mr. Appleman, Apple had an event this past week.
Woo.
Hey, control your enthusiasm, homie.
Woo.
We got to talk about it. All right.
This
is we're talking about tech, and this happened.
All right.
So, what were your takeaways from the event?
Well, let's see. I caught none of it live because I had other things to do. I did watch the Twitter, and okay, so it was a small Apple event. It wasn't like the big keynote style thing that you used to see with like Steve Jobs. It's smaller, low key, which is something we see in the tech community. We've gotten to the point where technology is ubiquitous in our life, and we don't have to have fireworks for every new iPhone or whatever. Samsung, same thing. The Samsung Unboxed shows are starting to get smaller and smaller. But I like the fact it was low key. They basically punched out their entire announcement in an hour, which for Apple is impressive.
Yes.
I would have loved to just have them skip the whole thing, update the Apple Store, and just send out a press release personally, because there wasn't much there. The one thing that they touted was the fact that we get a smaller iPhone, or as I like to call it, normal size iPhone.
Normal size. Okay.
So it's the 5-inch iPhone. So if you have an iPhone 5 or 5S, it's the normal sized iPhones. And I prefer them. I'm not. You have the Horkin version.
I have the Beast.
Yes, and so it's another iPhone. I mean, it's not a real huge deal. The thing about it is that it is basically all of the guts and glory of the bigger iPhones, short of I think the Force Touch screen,
3D Touch,
the 3D Touch screen. But the camera, the 12 megapixel camera, and all that other jazz is in the smaller camera, and the price point's super nice. Basically, we now have the iPhone SE.
Yes.
No numbers, just SE, special edition, sweet edition. I don't know what the S stands for. Speedy edition.
Significantly excellent.
Significantly excellent edition is now coming in at, I believe, 300 bones.
About $399, around
400 bones, yeah.
For the 16 gig.
Yeah, 16 gigs, of course. Which is kind of a little bit of a downer because I don't know of anyone that can rock a 16 gig iPhone these days, especially with a 12 megapixel sensor on that camera.
I am a minimal technologist, and I do not care to go for 16 gigabytes because I see how much video and photos take up and music and such. But for the entry-level price, it's getting fairly reasonable.
Yeah. But now, more importantly, now everything in the iPhone lineup has a fingerprint scanner.
That is another layer of security.
I wonder why.
Well,
could it be that the FBI and Apple were at odds for each other for a while?
That's a whole other episode.
I know.
You got other people asking you about that
on
other podcasts or other radio shows. But
but I mean, it's one of those things where Apple, I mean, it's just not banter. I mean, Apple's really significantly stating that they are big on data security, and having something as simple as having a fingerprint scanner just adds to their debate of, they are trying to do their best to make this technology ubiquitous, but also secure and easy to use.
And also with the fingerprint things, I use the fingerprint ID for myself, and I find it to be really helpful instead of tapping out four or numbers. 6 digits on my PIN code when I'm in traffic. No, I don't text when I'm driving.
No.
But if I'm out and about, I touch the thing and boom, I'm in my home screen. Others can't do that.
Right.
And at least Apple is saying, hey, we value your privacy.
Yep. They also announced a whole bunch of other features, such as their research division. So again, I'm going to shift gears a little bit away from the phone and go to the Apple. I always call it the iWatch, the Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch is now $299, and whoop-de-doo. But the big thing is that you have a lower barrier of entry for this smartwatch thing. And it dovetails nicely with the idea of here is something that you strap onto your wrist every day that is collecting more data biometrically about you, your heart rate, how much steps you use, and all of that stuff. Again, we need to be able to secure that stuff because in the wrong hands, who knows,
I think they're starting to reach the masses by taking that lower price point.
Yeah.
And it's not just the cool factor anymore. Now here's something that, and I was watching the Apple event live, and I saw the video that they talked about with the health kit.
Yeah.
And how those with certain medical conditions can use this as a tracking or to augment their regimen for health.
Well, also it checks in for treatment. I mean, medical professionals can check on it, and that's what I mean. Like this kind of data is a loaded bullet if it gets in the wrong hands.
True.
So, I mean, good on Apple for trying to, again, stand their ground regardless of political standing, to stand for their product as well as their users.
And also good on them for trying to help out those that may be able to have this augment their experience as they're trying to combat whatever health condition they may have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I did notice, and I'm going to kind of, great, new phone, whatever. New iPad Pro, smaller. Okay, we'll see how that turns out.
Watch straps. Yay. Okay, next.
There's an update to the iOS and the mobile and the desktop. And just one of the things that, as we're talking about security, one of the on, or one of the default apps that Apple has is Apple Notes. It's like a notepad. The yellow slab of paper that we normally have, that we write stuff down, they have an app for that. And what they made a change, which perked my ears up. You can set a password on specific notes.
That's nice.
And that is appealing.
Yes, we talked about that last episode.
Oh, yeah. And is there are some software solutions. I use Evernote to store a lot of my information. But let's just say I had some sensitive information that isn't really a password, but let's just say something that I really don't want others seeing.
Right.
If I do a keyword search on something else relating that happens to be in a classified note, that will show up in results plain text.
Yeah.
With a note, you can actually, and I don't advise this, but you could theoretically type your passwords down on an Apple Note.
I knew you were going to go there.
Set because I'm lame to do that. But I mean, yes, get a password manager like LastPass or 1Password, all right? Okay. But if you don't want to go that route of going a little bit deeper into technology for managing your passwords, here's something that you can have a specific password lock on a note. And oh, by the way, if you happen to share that password with a loved one, now you have one extra layer that you can share this important information. Passwords on Apple Notes, I'm a fan.
Okay. The last thing was there was a normal person iPad Pro that was announced.
Well, I've got the beast, the
That's
Colossus.
That's why I said a normal person.
A normal person, but here's the thing, though. You're with the big iPad Pro that came out, you've got two iPad minis or
iPad minis, yeah, basically.
If you do split screen sharing, that's like having two iPads. The verdict's still out on that smaller regular version.
I know.
And yeah, okay, so this may not be a full-on workhorse desktop replacement. This can be an excellent augmentation of what's going on. Yes, it's smaller, easier to carry. They updated the smart keyboard for the smaller 9.7-inch size. Okay, let's see how it works.
Yeah. No, it's again, it's one of those things where Apple fit all this in an hour, which is great because there's nothing really wowing. I was hoping to see the iPad Pro stuff. They just drop the Pro and just call everything iPad, and just you select what size you want. There's no reason that they have to have this separation.
So maybe it could be iPad Plus, iPad, or iPad SE, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
so,
and have some a uniform naming convention or something. I don't know. But make a long story short, out of all of the whole Apple event, you know what I was more excited about?
It being over?
Well, yes. But no, from a technologist standpoint, the night mode.
Night mode, yes.
So, little known fact, matter of fact, about this time last year, I was at a conference, and there was a speaker that was talking about yellow light versus blue light, and how it can disrupt our circadian rhythm, and it's a hindrance for people who look at a screen before they go to bed. We don't fall asleep; our brain just stays stimulated. And a lot of Android devices have the ability to reduce blue light or white light and add more yellow, which helps us. It's the incandescence type of feeling when we look at our devices. And it was funny because that speaker said that it's not available in iOS. And I had to chime in because it was. It was buried in the accessibilities feature where you could reduce white point. Now they've brought that to the foreground where with a swipe from the bottom, you have a new icon that allows you if you're going to bed, you can schedule your device to dim to yellow so that you can check your Twitter, play your Angry Birds, whatever, and you're hopefully going to go to sleep sooner or faster than you did before without that feature. So good on Apple for putting that quote-unquote health related thing to the foreground, because I used it, but it was a pain to get to it because you had to go to settings, general, accessibility, scroll to the bottom, reduce white point, and then go and do your thing. At that point, I was just like, I'm just going to go to bed, whatever. It's
nice to have an automatic setup for that. And I've actually used that before, and boy, it makes a difference as far as the jolt that your eyes would get when you go from that subdued yellow to full-on blue like we're used to.
Right.
So yeah, it's a new feature in iOS 9.3.
Yep. So let's talk about Shutdown Apps.
Yes.
On that note, let's get out of Appleville. I don't know how to say this, but whatever you like in technology, expect it to die someday.
It may not be forever.
It's not going to be forever. And with that said, there are some apps that Chris and I use or used, And they have what's called shuttered, which means that they are either they are acquired or acqui-hired by another company, meaning that they take over the company, a bigger company eats another company and acquires them for the talent and kills the product. Mm-hmm. And in honesty, all it does is it torques off users. But good on the company, they get the talent. Some of them, more recently, some of them that have affected me personally and professionally, have been acquired and shut down, one being copy.com.
Yeah, Copy was a great cloud source solution.
Yes, so Copy was acquired by Barracuda Systems, and I mean, props to Barracuda for getting that talent, but copy.com was a great Dropbox alternative with a whole bunch of features, affordable space. I used it for my client work. That's how I delivered my clients' prints. And now I have to kind of figure out what I'm going to do, probably use Dropbox for it now going forward. But Copy just was so nice. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, so my other backup system, which was Stream Nation, which had an app called Shutter. It was an infinite photo uploading system where basically if you take it on your phone, you had infinite storage in the cloud as a backup of your photos. So I've been using that for about a year. Used it when I was in Europe. And then they shuttered. They gave us about 30 days to get our stuff off of their system. And guess what, Chris?
Could you get your stuff off their system?
I did not get my stuff. And I had to even contact their technical support. Guess what? They tried to hook me up with a Google Drive link. Didn't work. I lost about 4 gigs of backed up photos.
Are you reading through the lines, listeners listening in? Be very careful about where you put your data. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, man. 4 gigs is a lot of memories. It's a lot of
it is. And like I said, I used it as a backup. So yes, I can fish out my actual external hard drive that I also synced it, because much like you mentioned a couple episodes back, you don't just trust the cloud. You don't just trust physical media. You put it in multiple places. So events like this don't torque you off.
Yeah, it's a shame that happens, but here's a lesson to be learned. You got to have something sitting in a drawer of all your information. Yes, it's great to have everything on the cloud, but you got to have that external drive. You got to have that other source in case situations like that. I was really sad to see there was a online calendaring solution called Sunrise.
Oh, yeah.
Sunrise was a really beautiful user interface. You could have your Google Calendar. It integrated nicely with Outlook Exchange,
which
Office
is rare.
365. Yeah, to get one to have both and to have the synchronization capabilities was really awesome.
And no compromises on either side. That's the other thing I noticed with a lot of these clients, is that they compromise they favor one protocol over the other. And no, Sunrise was great.
Yeah, and a mobile app, a desktop app, it was integrated nicely in my workflow. And then they gave a news release that Microsoft purchased them. I cringed slightly. I carried on. I said, okay, let's keep going. Oh, and Microsoft is shuttering Sunrise. So I'm trying to stay in a good mood. I'm looking out at the beautiful sun on a Bellingham afternoon, and I'm not going to get in my grumpy mood, but I was really disappointed to see that Sunrise was one of these apps that is now not alternative for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Pulse, I mentioned that on the other one, got eaten by LinkedIn, and they shuttered it, and I went to Feedly. Yeah. And, it's one of those things where we're constantly on the hunt I feel like part of our technical brain is not only just learning and using this technology, but we're also we're looking into our little crystal ball of how long is this going to last?
I don't know about you, AJ, but my crystal ball is fractured. I don't have a view as far as what's coming up in the near future. It used to be, it was like, oh yeah, they're going to go do this. I'm sorry, that is completely different than what my predictions were. So we just have to protect what we have now and react as things occur in the future. Who knows what's going to happen in 2019? We can, but it's just a heads up that these things may happen. Yeah. So
totally.
Let's get in a little bit of happier note. For those of you that are sharing with us in our sadness for apps apps not being available anymore or software not working, you want to vent with us, we have some voicemail available for you to ask us a question, whine, complain, whatever you feel like. Give us some feedback or question, nicely asked questions. Thank you very much. all of you out there in podcast land, give us a call at 201-731-8324. That's 201-731-TECH, and leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you think of the show, and ask us a question about technology, and we will be happy to answer your questions as best we can.
Yeah. So let's conclude the show on a happy note.
Yes.
Let's throw out our Subdued app on tap.
All right. You go first, Mr. Subdued.
So one app that I am monkeying around with, actually, I'm actually going to deviate from my show notes here because I recently used it and I hadn't used it since my grad school days. It's an app now called Mindnode.
Mindnode. That's the mind mapping app.
It is.
Yes.
So if good recollection.
Yeah, thank you.
So Mindnode started off originally as a web app.
Okay.
And then they've now graduated, as I've graduated, and now they have a Mac, I believe Windows, and then iOS app.
They're going cross-platform.
They're going cross-platform.
All right,
Don't quote me on the Windows side. But recently, I'm coming up to we're both going to conference here soon. Mm-hmm. And part of my presentation on my research is we needed to map out, my partner and I, we needed to map out our curriculum. And so I was tasked to do it, and I whipped out Mindnode, and I got this mind map done in, like, I don't know, 1 cup of coffee.
Not bad.
That's it. I mean, and I did it all on the iPad, exports out as a PDF, boom, done.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it was. Don't have to worry about Word and SmartArt. You don't have to worry about Illustrator and vectors. It was just neat. And I think it's a couple of bucks on the iTunes App Store. I got it for free through Starbucks. It was one of their recommended apps that they, those little cards you get sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw it and snagged it because I hadn't seen that name in years. And I'm so glad I did because, man, it saved me, a couple hours worth of work.
Mind mapping has pretty good, advantages when you're trying to come up with the project over the 10,000-foot view. Of everything. Well, good on you.
Yeah. What about you? What's on your phone that you're going to turn and burn?
Not really. Yeah, I'm working with. Yes. Well, this goes along with the lines with my. I don't like having a cluttered desktop on my phone. I don't like having icons everywhere. I usually have I like having a pleasant wallpaper to look at. But I tried something. I read about something called Blur.
Blur.
Blur is we'll add it to the show notes if it's free or premium. This is kind of almost off the top of my head. As I was messing with it before the show. Basically, you take a picture in your camera roll on your phone, and this is mainly for iPhone, but we'll put in the show notes if there's an Android version. But what it does is you bring up a photo, and then you have a sliding bar that can make things blurred to the point where you can't discern what the picture is. So I have a nice sunset picture. By blurring it, it eliminates all the details.
Got it. It's bokehfication of your photos.
Bokehfication, yes. From Boca Raton, here's some bokehfication. So anyway, Blur is an app that I've been messing with, and it's give it a try because you get all these pictures of sunsets or of a beautiful scene, or even if you're friends, you can totally blur it. And it's like, that kind of looks like someone. And then it's a nice way to kind of tweak your wallpaper.
Interesting. I like that.
We'll put that in the show notes for more details.
Cool. Hey, Chris, where can people stalk you on the interwebs?
Once again, my landing page is chrispowell.co, not chrispowell.com. There's a fine, handsome, in-shape gent who's like a life fitness coach and a best-selling author and a host on a TV show. Much more handsome than me. He's got the .com. I've got chrispowell.co. And on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at MinimalTech, MNMLTEK. I'm so minimal, I don't need a lot of vowels. How about you, AJ?
Oh, and don't forget your blog, lessthan300.com.
Yeah, I do little microblog stuff. I found a lot of healing and a lot of self-therapy by writing on some aspects of where I can be transparent and genuine in our guarded society. So lessthan300.com. If you've got some time, none of the entries are more than 300 words.
Which I think is an awesome idea.
Well, thank you. But anyway, how can people check you out on the web?
I'm at ajbarse.com. That's AJBARSE.com. And you can also find me on the Twitter and the Instagram at ajbarse. And or you can find me on Patreon. I am a Patreon creator. And what that allows me to do is to do my art, and I have a community of patrons that back me every month to make cool things. And also I do vlogs, and I put out things that don't ever really make it to like 500 pics or anything. So there's a sneak peek behind what I do, or you can learn a couple of tips and tricks. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to produce my vlog for this month for my patrons.
Excellent.
Yeah, and that's at Patreon, patreon.com/AJ Barsay.
I look behind the curtain at the wizard of photography.
I try.
Yeah, that'll work out.
That wraps up for this edition of BPM Tech. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit us on the web at bellinghampodcast.com. I'm AJ Barsay.
And I'm Chris Powell. We'll see you next time on BPM Tech.